Dear friends in the Dhamma, may you be well in body and radiant in heart. Today, I wish to speak about a truth that shines brighter than the morning star, cuts deeper than the sharpest blade, and frees the heart more surely than all the striving in this world. It is right view, Sammā Diṭṭhi, the first and most essential step on the Noble Eightfold Path. When established with clarity and rooted in wisdom, right view becomes the master key to solving any problem in life. So I ask you, listen closely, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Let these words settle deep into your being. Right view is not an opinion. It's not a philosophy or a mental exercise. It's a way of seeing reality that aligns with the Dhamma. When right view is present, suffering begins to end. When it's absent, even our noblest efforts can lead us deeper into confusion and pain. To have right view is to see things as they truly are, not as we want them to be, not distorted by our desires or fears, but as they actually are. And what are they? Impermanent, unsatisfactory, not self. These are the three marks of all conditioned existence. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. To see this clearly, even for a moment, is to begin to awaken. But let me not just speak in concepts. Let me share a story passed down from the whispering bamboo groves, a sacred jewel handed from teacher to student, a story of a man named Jotiko. The story of Jotiko, the merchant of fire. Jotiko was a wealthy merchant in ancient Magadha. He dealt in the most precious goods, fine silks from the south, exotic spices from the north, gold from the west. But his true treasure was incense, fragrant, rare sticks laced with sandalwood and wild jungle resins. People said even the gods descended when Jotiko lit his incense. Yet Jotiko's heart was not at peace. Though his wealth rivaled that of a prince, his home was full of strife. His wife was distant, his children quarreled. He slept restlessly, haunted by dreams of loss. Fear clung to him like smoke. One night, as he crossed the dense Vindhya forest, his caravan was ambushed by bandits. He barely escaped with his life. Injured and stripped of everything, he wandered for days until he collapsed under a Bodhi tree. There, a monk found him. The monk's robes were worn thin, his arms bowl empty, but his eyes burned with stillness. Without a word, the monk cleaned Jotiko's wounds and cared for him in silence. On the fourth day, Jotiko finally asked, "Why are you helping me? I have nothing left to give." The monk smiled and said, "Because suffering binds all beings, but there is a way out." "What is it?" Jotiko whispered. "Right view," the monk replied. That moment marked the beginning of Jotiko's second life. He followed the monk to a quiet forest monastery where he learned to sit, to breathe, to listen, not to the noise of the market, but to the silence of his own mind. He began noticing the rise and fall of thoughts, the dance of pain and joy. He began to hear the rhythm of impermanence. One day, as he sat beneath a tree, a single leaf detached and floated to the ground. And in that quiet fall, something clicked. He saw, everything I clung to, my business, my name, my pride, even this body, is like that leaf, drifting in the wind of time. He cried, not from grief, but from relief. For the first time, he let go. Years passed. Jotiko became a monk, then a revered teacher. They called him Venerable Jotika Dhammo. People traveled far to hear his words, yet he always began his teachings with the same reminder. Solve no problem until you first see rightly. Right view is the mother of all solutions. The heart of the matter. So, my dear listeners, what can we take from Jotiko's story? That no wealth, no relationship, no outer success can resolve suffering if the mind does not see clearly. Suffering begins with wrong view. We mistake what is impermanent for permanent. We grasp at what cannot be held. We take what is not self to be a self. And thus our minds become tangled. You may think your problem is your boss, your partner, your health, your past. But I say to you, those are only the shadows. The real issue is how you are seeing. Shift the view and the shadows vanish. Right view is like a lamp in a cave. You don't fight the darkness, you light the lamp. With right view, you don't have to wrestle with every fear, every loss, every injustice. You simply see, and in the seeing, suffering begins to melt. Two kinds of right view. Let us be precise, for precision is the blade that cuts ignorance. There are two levels of right view. 1. Mundane right view, the belief in karma, that our actions have consequences. Generosity brings joy, hatred brings pain. This view upholds morality and leads to wholesome rebirths. 2. Supramundane right view, the deep insight into the Four Noble Truths. There is suffering, a cause, an end, and a path. This right view leads to awakening, to nibbana. Both are essential. Mundane right view is the ground. Supramundane right view is the sky. But the sky cannot be reached without first standing on solid ground. Cultivating right view. How then do we grow this diamond of the mind? First, listen to true Dhamma. Read the suttas. Drink deeply from the wellspring of the Buddha's words. Second, reflect, not just with dry logic, but with the warmth of faith and the sharp blade of mindfulness. Third, meditate. Sit, breathe. Watch sensations rise and fall. Watch thoughts come and go. Don't interfere, just see. This clear seeing becomes knowing, and knowing becomes freedom. The problem is never the problem. Remember this. The problem is never the problem. The problem is the view. Change the view, and even death loses its sting. Cling to the wrong view, and even paradise can feel like a prison. Let me offer you one story, a simple one. The broken bowl. A young monk once cried because his clay alms bowl had cracked. It was his only one. His teacher asked, "Why are you crying?" "Because I can't eat now," the young monk replied. The teacher simply smiled and walked away. That evening, during the Dhamma talk, the teacher said, "A cracked bowl taught me more than all the scriptures. When I wept over it, I saw my real pain wasn't hunger, it was attachment. Hunger passes, attachment lingers, and wherever there is attachment, there is suffering." The young monk wept again, but this time not out of sorrow, out of understanding. When you lose money, ask, where is the self in this? When someone insults you, ask, what is truly being hurt? When your body aches, ask, is this pain permanent? These are not escape questions. They are entryways to wisdom. Right view doesn't make life easier, it makes it clearer. And in that clarity, even difficulty becomes a path. Let me end with this verse. The storm may rage, the world may shake, but the one with right view does not break. He walks with calm through fire and frost, for he has seen there is no loss. Let me begin not with a teaching, but with a question. What is the value of right view? When the roof leaks, the child is sick, the rice burns, and the neighbor gossips. Can right view survive the chaos of marriage, the noise of the marketplace, the stress of a traffic jam, or is it a monk's luxury, tucked neatly in saffron robes, reserved for silent halls and polished shrines? Let's find out through the story of a simple man named Saliko, the story of Saliko, the farmer who wept for rain. In the dry plains of ancient Kosala, where the earth cracked and prayers rose into silent skies, lived Saliko, a humble farmer with strong arms, weathered hands, and eyes like a river during drought. His 3-acre field was his world, and his only companion was an old ox named Goma, who understood him better than most people. Saliko lived with quiet devotion. Each morning before the sun even stirred, he bowed 3 times toward the east and whispered, "Let today be enough." Then he plowed, sowed, watered, and hoped. For years, the sky responded kindly. But one year, everything changed. The rain stopped coming. The once generous sky turned silent. His seedlings withered in the heat. Goma stumbled, debts piled up, and so did his sorrow. Desperate, Saliko prayed harder. He fasted. He offered rice at every shrine. He even recited charms he barely believed. But the clouds drifted past like indifferent kings, distant, floating, silent. Finally, broken by the season, Saliko walked to a nearby monastery, a simple wooden hut tucked in the forest, where an old monk lived alone, meditating beneath the tamarind trees. Falling to his knees, Saliko cried, "Venerable sir, what karma have I done to deserve this? The rain has abandoned me. My fields are dying. I am dying." The monk didn't respond right away. He watched an ant crawl across a fallen mango. Then he turned and gently asked, "Saliko, is your suffering caused by the sky or by your mind's resistance to what is?" The farmer blinked. "But the sky won't rain." The monk nodded. "Yes, the sky won't rain, but must your heart dry up too?" That question took root in Saliko's chest like a seed. It sprouted in his dreams, in his footsteps, in his silence. When the world doesn't obey, dear friends, this is the heart of right view in daily life. Right view doesn't promise that storms won't come. It doesn't offer immunity from grief or loss. What it gives is clarity in the midst of the storm. The wisdom to discern what we can control and what we must release, what we must endure and what we can transform. Saliko's pain was real, the drought was real, but his deepest suffering didn't come from dry fields. It came from clinging to the idea that they shouldn't be dry. Right view sees impermanence clearly. It trains the mind to respond, not react, to accept, not resign, to plant new seeds, not drown in despair. When the mind fights reality, it suffers. When the mind flows with reality, it learns. How Saliko changed. Saliko didn't give up farming. He returned to his field, but something inside him had shifted. He stopped cursing the sky. He began studying it. He diversified his crops. He started digging a reservoir. He learned rainwater harvesting from a neighboring village. And more importantly, he started meditating each morning before his work, not to escape the drought, but to anchor his mind in equanimity. When others mocked him, he smiled. When debt collectors came, he served them tea with honesty. He taught his neighbors not just about farming, but about seeing clearly. Years later, during another dry season, those same neighbors gathered under the shade of his reservoir trees. "Your fields still bloom," they said. "How is it possible?" Saliko chuckled. "I don't fight the sky anymore. I befriend it." Right view and family life. Let's move from the fields to a scene closer to your home, your kitchens, your beds, your daily struggles. The story of Vimala, the mother of 7. Vimala was a village mother with 7 children, a husband who gambled, and dreams that slowly faded with each pregnancy. There was no time for meditation, no solitude, no peace, only cooking, cleaning, breaking up fights and wiping away tears. One day, a traveling monk passed through her village. Everyone came out to offer alms, but Vimala was too busy stopping her children from chasing a goat into the firewood pile. After the meal, the monk gave a short talk. Vimala stood at the edge, broom in hand, hair frayed, patience fraying. The monk said, "Right view is like a mirror. If the mirror is dusty, your reflection looks distorted. But clean the mirror, and clarity appears." Vimala thought, "My mirror must be caked in mud." Then he added, "A mother of 7 who sees each tantrum as impermanent, each task as practice, and each moment as a lesson is closer to Nibbana than a monk meditating in a cave of delusion." Vimala froze, her eyes filled not with sorrow but with recognition. From that day, she began to live differently. When her children screamed, she whispered, "This too shall pass." When her husband returned drunk, she saw not a villain, but a man drowning in his own pain. She still cried sometimes, but her tears didn't drown her. They came and went, like summer rain. Years later, one of her sons became a monk. When asked why, he said, I first saw right view in my mother's eyes when she smiled while washing dishes. Daily problems, Dhamma solutions. Most of you live lives more like Vimala or Saliko than like silent monks in robes. You face illness, aging parents, unpaid bills, loneliness, noisy neighbors, overwork and heartbreak. And you may think, when life calms down, I'll start practicing. Let me tell you a secret. Life won't calm down, but your mind can. Right view doesn't mean you stop cooking dinner. It means you don't burn your heart while cooking rice. It doesn't mean quitting your job. It means not confusing your job title with your self-worth. Right view isn't reserved for after your chores. It is hidden inside them. Fold the laundry like you're folding the past. Wash the dishes as if washing away illusion. Speak to your partner as though speaking to a Buddha in disguise. This isn't poetic fancy, this is freedom in motion, right view and conflict. Let's touch one last familiar battleground, arguments. Have you ever felt this? You know you're right, they're clearly wrong, and yet the more you argue, the more painful it becomes. Here's a truth, being right is often less important than seeing rightly. In an argument, right view gently asks, is this truly worth clinging to? Am I defending truth or protecting pride? Is my speech healing or scorching? Right view doesn't demand silence. It asks that you speak only when it brings peace. I once met a layman who ended every fight with his wife by saying, "Let us return to silence, where no one wins but peace returns." They stayed married for 50 years. 5 ways to cultivate right view in daily life. 1. Daily reflection. Each morning ask, what truly belongs to me today? You'll find it's only your choices, your view, your heart. 2. Journal the 3 marks. Each night, note one impermanent moment, one unsatisfying experience, and one glimpse where the self faded. Train your vision. 3. Slow down. 1 task. Pick a daily task, walking, brushing, making tea, and slow it down. Watch impermanence. Watch not self in action. 4. Listen more than you speak. Listening is right view in practice. It deflates the ego and opens wisdom. 5. Read a verse from the Dhammapada daily. Like watering a plant, this habit nurtures stillness and insight. Dear friends, right view is not something you download into your brain like an app. It's something you uncover, like clear water beneath a muddy river. When the dust of delusion, greed and hatred settles, what remains is not a belief, but a way of seeing. A seeing that does not grasp. A seeing that does not flinch. A seeing that sets you free. The ox may toil, the wheel may turn, the fire may burn, the lovers yearn, but the one who sees with steady eye walks untouched beneath the sky. The tale of Anuruddha and the empty room. Anuruddha was a learned man, sharp as obsidian, proud as a peacock. He had built a life of precision. Clocks that never missed a tick, shoes always aligned, teacups placed just so. But one day, his wife left. No warning, no letter, just a missing pair of sandals by the door. Anuruddha was devastated, not just by her absence, but by the silence. He paced through the empty house, whispering curses into the kitchen tiles. Why would she leave me? What did I do wrong? Maybe I wasn't good enough, or too much, or too little, or too late. He turned the event into 1,000 thoughts, 1,000 judgments, 1,000 invisible arrows. Finally, he went to a monastery in the hills. The old monk welcomed him without asking a single question. He simply handed Anuruddha a broom and said, "Clean the empty room." Anuruddha swept in silence. Dust rose, light fell. The next day again, clean the empty room. This went on for weeks. No lessons, just sweeping. Until one morning, Anuruddha asked, "Why do you make me clean the same room every day? It's already empty." The monk smiled. "Exactly. Now you're beginning to see." Anuruddha wept, not for his wife, but for the hundreds of arrows he had shot into his own mind. He kept sweeping, this time not to clean the room, but to clean his view. And when he finally left, the monk whispered echo, "Your life is a room. What you put inside is up to you. Don't fill it with stories. Let it breathe." Right view in conversations. Let's talk about your daily conversations. Not the deep ones, just the ordinary. How was your day? What's for dinner? Did you hear what she said? Most people are not talking to each other. They're talking to their own minds through each other. Right view invites a sacred pause before speech. Ask, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? That alone can transform your life. Try this today. When someone speaks to you, don't plan your reply. Just listen, not to answer, to understand. That is right view with ears. The teaching of the doorframe. There's a monk who teaches without speaking. He stands by the doorframe of the meditation hall every morning. People bow, confused. One day a young novice asked, "Venerable sir, why do you stand there every day?" The monk replied, "The doorframe sees everyone come and go, but it never follows, it never clings. It supports the door, but doesn't try to become one." The novice didn't understand, until one day he was overwhelmed by grief. He remembered the doorframe. He sat still. He didn't run after thoughts, didn't fight emotions. He stood like the doorframe, still, present, supportive, free. Everyday practice, the 4 mindful mirrors. 1. Before action, ask, is this kind, wise and timely? 2. During emotion, ask, what story am I telling about this? 3. After mistake, say, that too was a lesson. 4. At day's end, reflect. What did I believe today that wasn't true? Write down 1 false belief each night. Burn it if needed. Release. The parable of the melting mask. A young girl named Sarani was given a magical mask. It made everyone love her, praise her, celebrate her. But every night, it melted a little, and she had to repaint it. Over time, she forgot what her real face looked like. One day, an old beggar gave her a cracked mirror and said, "Look at yourself, not the paint." She resisted, but eventually she looked. Beneath the colors was a tired, beautiful, unrecognized face. She cried for hours, then laughed. She threw the mask in the river. From that day, her smile became her mask, and it never melted again. Right view and forgiveness. To forgive is not to say, "It didn't hurt." To forgive is to stop drinking the poison your mind keeps serving. Right view says, pain is real. The past happened, but suffering is optional. Forgiveness is not for the other. It is for freedom. You forgive not to forget, but to stop reliving. You forgive because you are tired of dragging the corpse of a moment long gone. Place it down. Walk light. The parable of the teacup. A student asked the teacher, "Master, I feel shattered." The teacher handed him a cracked cup of tea. The student said, "This is broken." The teacher smiled, "So are you. Drink anyway." The tea was warm. The crack didn't matter. That day, the student understood. Healing does not begin with perfection. It begins with acceptance. The ultimate question, what is real? Right view doesn't give you new beliefs. It gives you new eyes. You stop asking, "What is wrong with me?" and begin asking, "What story am I believing?" You stop saying, "I am this anger," and begin saying, "There is anger." You stop holding on to identities like trophies, and you become like the ocean, vast, deep, able to hold every wave without clinging to one. So I ask again, dear ones, are you sure you're awake? Not just biologically, but spiritually. Because to awaken is not to float above life. It is to see clearly in the middle of it, to wash dishes with awareness, to drive without rage, to love without chains, to live without the need for a mask. Are you sure you're awake? Let me ask you something you've probably never questioned before. Are you sure you're awake right now? I don't mean you've had your morning coffee. I don't mean your eyes are open. I mean, are you living in reality? Or are you just reacting to the shadows flickering on the walls of your mind? In today's episode, we journey deeper into the mystery and power of right view, not as abstract theory, but as something alive, as real as your breath, as raw as your heartbreak, as mundane as your kitchen sink. This lesson brings a mirror and a hammer to reflect your mind, a hammer to break the illusions. The two realities, what happens versus what you tell yourself. Right view teaches that suffering isn't always in the situation. It's in the story we tell about the situation. Let's say someone yells at you. What actually happens? Sound waves hit your ears. A voice, a phrase, that's reality. Then the mind kicks in. They hate me. I'm always the victim. They're such a terrible person. Why does this keep happening to me? That's the mental story. The Buddha asks, can you separate the event from your opinion about the event? Because that's where suffering ends. The parable of the two arrows. The Buddha once said, when an ordinary person is struck by an arrow, they suffer. But then they shoot themselves with a second arrow, by dwelling on it, by blaming, by ruminating. A wise one feels the first pain, but not the second. Let's bring this to life with a story. The tale of Anuruddha and the empty room. Anuruddha was a forest monk who lived alone. One night, a thief broke into his tiny hut. But there was nothing to steal, just robes, a bowl, and an old kettle. The thief was frustrated. What kind of monk has nothing? Anuruddha smiled gently. Would you like some tea? Confused, the thief sat down. Anuruddha served him with kindness. Why aren't you afraid? The thief asked. Because I see clearly, said Anuruddha. You're not a demon. You're in pain, and I am not a victim. I'm awake. The thief wept. Later, he became Anuruddha's disciple. Anuruddha understood right view. He felt the first arrow. Yes, danger was present. But he didn't shoot the second. Fear, blame, hatred. He saw what is, not what his mind imagined. Right view and relationships. You might think your suffering comes from your partner, your child, your friend, but what if the pain isn't from them, but from your belief that they shouldn't be the way they are? Right view asks, can you meet people as they are, not as your mind demands them to be? Try shifting your language. Instead of, they never listened to me, try, sound waves didn't reach the attention of another consciousness. Instead of, I can't trust them, try, this being has conditions I cannot control. Instead of, why are they like this, try, because of karma, habits, and ignorance, just like me. This shift doesn't mean giving up. It means waking up. The story of Davindo and the burning chair. Davindo was a proud craftsman. He built meditation chairs for monks, exquisite, elegant, precise. One day, a revered monk visited his shop. Please sit, venerable sir, Davindo said proudly, gesturing to his best work. The monk sat, the chair broke. Splinters everywhere. Davindo was mortified. That chair took 2 months. It was flawless, he cried. The monk stood calmly, brushed off his robes and smiled. Davindo, he said, your suffering isn't from the broken chair, it's from the story. It shouldn't have broken. Let go of that and peace returns. From that day on, Davindo crafted without pride, and his chairs never broke again. Seeing through the stories, right view doesn't mean ignoring pain. It means not adding to it. A headache hurts, but telling yourself, this always ruins my day, only makes it worse. A breakup stings, but telling yourself, I'll never be loved again, shoots the second arrow. With practice, you learn to say, pain is here, not, this shouldn't be happening. Sadness has arisen, not, I'll feel this forever. Thoughts are appearing, not, these thoughts define me. This isn't cold detachment, it's wise compassion. The mirror of thought, watching, not worshipping. Do you believe every thought you think? That's like trusting every bird that lands on your roof. Right view invites you to observe thoughts, not obey them. A thought arises, I'm not good enough. Pause. Watch it. Where did it come from? What feeling rides on its back? Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it kind? If not, let it pass. Your thoughts are not you. They're clouds in the sky of your awareness. Right view isn't about controlling thoughts. It's about seeing them clearly as temporary, conditioned, and not self. The story of Mandova, the painter of dreams. Mandova painted portraits for royalty, but her finest works were never on canvas. They were in her dreams. Each night, she imagined masterpieces, floating palaces, dragons on lotus petals, bridges made of music. She laughed and cried in her sleep. One morning, she woke up in tears. Her favorite dream had ended. A quiet nun, her friend, said, "Mandova, why suffer over the brushstrokes of sleep? Dreams do what dreams do, just like thoughts." Mandova stopped painting dreams. She started painting monks meditating beneath trees. Her art became still, alive, awake. Right view and money trouble. Let's get practical. You lost your job. Your savings are low. Fear knocks at the door. Right view doesn't say, pretend it's fine. It says, this is a moment of change. This body-mind can respond wisely. Panic helps no one. What's the next kind step I can take? Worry might still arise, but it doesn't run the show anymore. You're not a puppet of your mind. You're the one who sees the strings. The mountain that waits in a distant village stood a mountain with a single path. Every year, people tried to climb it. Most gave up halfway. One year, an old monk sat at the mountain's base. He watched climbers begin, sweat, cry, quit. He never moved. Some mocked him. "Why don't you climb?" He smiled. "The mountain isn't something to conquer. It's a teacher." One young man challenged him. "Then what have you learned just sitting here?" The monk whispered, "Every stone is a thought, every step a belief, but stillness reveals the peak." The young man sat beside him. For the first time, the mountain smiled back. Daily practice. Episode 4. Tools. 1. Thought-catching journal. Carry a notebook. When a recurring thought pops up, e.g., "I'm not enough, they don't care," write it down. Ask, is it absolutely true? Who am I without this thought? What's a wiser, kinder view? 2. Pause before reaction. Before reacting in tough situations, pause for 2 seconds. Ask, what story am I telling right now? Drop it, then respond. 3. Name it, don't become it. Say, sadness is here, not I'm sad. Anger is present, not I'm angry. This small shift creates space and compassion. And 4. Reality versus story list. When upset, split a page in 2 columns. Left, what actually happened, facts. Right, what I'm telling myself, story. This helps you see where freedom begins. 5 minutes of silence. Sit quietly. No chasing thoughts. No pushing them away. Just observe. Let the stream flow. Be the mountain. You've looked into the mirror today. You've seen the stories, the reactions, the masks. Now the question is, will you believe them or simply see them? Right view isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's not about suppressing emotions, but understanding them. Not about controlling life, but seeing it clearly. Life is a river, a song, a flicker, a mystery. You don't need to build a better you. You just need to see through the illusion of the one you thought you were. Let me leave you with this verse. The thought may rise, the tale may twist, but none of this is what you missed. Behind the noise, behind the hue, there waits the silent, timeless you. You've been walking with us along the forest path of right view. Not as an abstract idea to worship, but as a lens to see clearly. In episode 4, we held up a mirror and a hammer. Today we bring something different, a compass and a lantern. Why? Because we're about to step into the terrain of choice, direction, and darkness. The spaces in daily life where right view becomes not just helpful, but essential. So we ask, what guides your choices? What lights your path? Right view at the fork in the road. Every day, we stand at forks in the road. Some are obvious, others are quiet and invisible. Should I speak up or stay silent? Spend or save? Scroll or sit still? But here's the deeper question. What's the view behind your choice? Right view isn't just for monks in robes. It belongs to every decision you face. Let's take a simple example. Two people receive the same email. You have been laid off. One spirals into despair. I'm a failure. Life is unfair. The other pauses. A door just closed. What's the next wise step? Same event, different view, different outcome. Right view isn't just clarity. It's karma's compass. What's the kindest truth I can hold now? 5-minute intention. Sit each morning. Sit quietly for 5 minutes. Set your intention with right view. Today I choose to respond, not react. I walk with awareness, not assumption. The story of the man who argued with silence. A proud scholar once visited a silent monastery. He challenged the head monk. Your silence is cowardice. Say something wise. The monk bowed. You think you're better than me? The scholar shouted. Silence. He stormed off. But days later he returned and whispered, in your silence, I heard all my noise. Sometimes the clearest teaching is no teaching. Right view understands. Silence has its own language. Closing reflection. The lantern and the compass. Now you carry tools, clarity, pause, awareness. You've seen the shadow of the second arrow. You've touched the firewood of motive. Right view is not a doctrine, it's a direction. It's not a dogma, it's a daily invitation. Wherever you walk, through traffic, through grief, through joy, right view walks beside you. Not to make you perfect, but to make you free. No road is dark when wisdom walks. No night is cold when kindness talks. The path is hard, but hearts are bright when right view turns on the light. We've journeyed far together, not across mountains, but through the intricate landscapes of the mind. In our last episode, we moved with a compass and lantern, through decisions, through direction, through darkness. Now, we find ourselves right in the heart of the storm. And so today we bring two things, the wind and the anchor. Because life will bring winds, the winds of anger, sorrow, craving and fear. And if you're not anchored, those winds will carry you far from yourself. This talk isn't about controlling the storm, it's about not becoming the storm. Right view in the storm of emotion. Have you ever felt overtaken by an emotion? As if you're no longer the driver, just a passenger to anger, to grief, to longing? A message appears, a memory surfaces, a tone in someone's voice unravels something old, and suddenly you're no longer sitting in your room, you're sitting in rage, in despair, in fantasy. The Buddha never promised life would be calm. He promised something far deeper, that even in the midst of the storm, freedom is possible, and right view, Sammā Diṭṭhi, is that freedom's anchor. The parable of the crying king. Long ago, a powerful king lost his son in battle. Grief overwhelmed him. He stopped eating. He wept openly in the court. His ministers brought dancers, music, poets, even gold. Nothing touched him. Then one day, an old forest monk entered the palace. The king snapped, "If you're here to preach, leave." The monk bowed quietly and said, "Your son was deeply loved. Your grief is loud, but don't mistake thunder for truth." The king was startled. The monk added, "Grief can echo love, or it can echo ego. Which one are you feeding?" That day the king sat in silence, not to escape his grief, but to witness it. He didn't stop feeling. He started understanding, from identification to observation. Right view teaches us this. You are not your emotion. Anger may be present, but you are not anger. Fear may arise, but you are not fear. Just as clouds pass across the sky, emotions pass through the mind. The problem isn't the emotion itself. The problem is grasping it. The moment you say, "This is me, this is mine," the storm owns you. Right view says, "Wait, let's look." Ask yourself, what triggered this? What is this emotion asking for? Is it rooted in truth or in a story I've been telling myself? The story of Malaya and the red mist. Malaya was a soldier, but in secret he was also a meditator. On the battlefield he was feared for his rage. His enemies called it the red mist. One day after meditation, Malaya asked his teacher, "Why can't I let go of my rage? It gives me power." The teacher replied, "Yes, rage gives fire, but it also burns the house that holds it." "Should I become soft?" Malaya asked. "No," the teacher said, "don't become soft, become clear." So Malaya trained not to fight less, but to fight with wisdom. He began pausing before reacting. He stopped seeing enemies and began seeing men with fear in their eyes. Eventually, Malaya left the battlefield, not because he lost courage, but because he had found clarity. The three winds of emotional turmoil. According to right view, three powerful emotional winds disturb the mind. 1. Greed, lobha, the wind of craving. 2. Hatred, dosa, the wind of aversion. 3. Delusion, moha, the wind of confusion. These winds don't arise randomly. They're born from core misunderstandings. That happiness comes from grasping, that safety comes from pushing others away, that peace can be found in ignorance. Right view doesn't shame these winds. It studies them, like a scientist at a microscope, like a monk with a still heart. You begin asking, where did this belief come from? Who taught me this? Is it still true? Does it still serve me? The story of the woman with mirror eyes. There was a woman in a village who never seemed to get angry. People mocked her, lied to her, even stole from her, yet she always smiled. One day, a curious young man asked, "What's your secret?" She replied, "I have mirror eyes. When someone throws fire, I see where they're burning. When someone lies, I see where they're afraid. I don't react to the words, I see the wound." Right view gives us mirror eyes, to see the wound behind the insult, to see the fear behind the rage, to see the craving behind the arrogance. When you see clearly, you stop shadowboxing, you stop attacking echoes, you meet pain, not with retaliation, but with wisdom. Right view in everyday life. You don't need a cave or a monastery to live this. Try it in your kitchen, your inbox, your daily routine. Someone cuts you off in traffic, reaction, idiot, right view. A moment of anger arose. I am not this anger. Someone criticizes your work. Reaction, they hate me. Right view, a sensation of hurt arose. Can I hold this gently? Even desire can be seen with understanding. You crave something, food, attention, pleasure. Instead of indulging or resisting, say, "Ah, desire, you've come back. Let's sit together." Let the craving burn without adding fuel. This isn't suppression. This is liberation. The story of the rain and the roof. A monk lived in a small hut with a leaky roof. Whenever it rained, he got soaked. He kept patching the holes with banana leaves, but the rain always found a way. One day his teacher visited and asked, "Still getting wet?" The monk sighed, "Always. I patch it, but it keeps leaking." The teacher smiled and said, "Then stop fixing the roof. Find higher ground." And suddenly the monk understood. The goal isn't to plug every leak of emotion. It's to rise above identification. From that day forward, he no longer cursed the rain. He simply watched it fall. Practicing right view in the storm. Here are some simple, powerful tools to cultivate right view. 1. Emotional weather journal. Each evening, reflect and write, what was today's strongest emotion? What triggered it? What story did it come with? What did I do? What might I do next time? 2. Anchor. Phrase practice. When emotions surge, repeat, "This is just a wave. I am the ocean. A feeling has arisen. I remain steady. Find a phrase that resonates and return to it often. 3. The 3-second pause. Before you speak, text, or react, pause. Breathe 3 times. Notice the urge. You are not the urge. Let it pass. Then choose. 4. Compassionate inquiry. Ask gently, what is this emotion protecting? What does it think I need? Can I give myself that in a wiser way? Example, anger may be guarding your sense of self-worth. Can you meet that with care rather than fury? The parable of the firekeeper. In a remote forest temple, one monk had the humble duty of keeping the sacred fire. People came for warmth, for prayers, for cooking. One day a visitor sneered, "You do nothing but tend that little flame." The monk smiled and replied, "Yes, but when the storm comes, you'll return. Because this flame, it knows how not to go out." Your awareness grounded in right view is that sacred fire, not flashy, not loud, but enduring. In a world of wildfires and tempests, be the one who tends the quiet flame. Right view and forgiveness. A word on forgiveness. It's not about excusing harm. It's about laying down the poison you've been carrying. When you forgive, you don't free them. You free yourself. Right view sees clearly. Their action was unskillful. Their mind was clouded. I can learn, release, and move on. As long as anger stays, the wound remains open. Let clarity be your salve. The story of the old man and the drum. In a small village, an old man walked around with a drum. Every time someone insulted him, he'd strike the drum once. After months, villagers asked, "Why do you do that?" He smiled. "Insults used to echo in my head for days. Now they live only in a sound, and then they're gone." Right view reminds us, you can process pain without storing it. You can honor emotion without becoming it. You can feel deeply without drowning. Closing reflection, the anchor and the wind. You now carry an anchor. Not to stop the storm, but to remain steady in it. Right view won't eliminate emotion, but it will reveal its true nature. It will show you where it begins, how it deceives, and what it truly seeks. You're not here to be unfeeling. You're here to feel with wisdom. Let me leave you with a final verse. The wind may howl, the waves may rise, but peace is born beneath the skies. Not by running, not by might, but seeing all with steady sight. Right view in times of grief. The story of Anukampa, the weaver of tears. If our last talk was like light gently falling upon the everyday suffering of life, today we step into a shadow many of us quietly avoid. Let me not begin with advice. Let me begin with a story that may touch a tender wound within you, a story that belongs not just to the past, but to the quiet, unspoken chambers of your own heart. The story of Anukampa, the weaver of tears. In a peaceful village at the edge of the bamboo hills, where even the moonlight seemed to soften the hardest paths, lived Anukampa, a woman known for weaving the finest garments in 3 provinces. But her true art was not in thread alone. She wove with patience, with silence, with song. Her heart belonged to one person, her only son, Silo, a boy with eyes that danced even though his feet could not. Born with a limp that never healed, some whispered it was bad karma, but Anukampa called it his lotus. Blooming imperfect yet radiant, her love for him was fierce, gentle, complete. But during one rainy season, when the river rose too fast, Silo slipped from a rock and was taken by the current. When they found his small body the next morning, Anukampa did not scream. She did not collapse. She simply picked up his soaked robe and held it close, like thread yet to be woven. The weight of a body, the weight of grief. Funerals are for the village. Grief is for the heart. Anukampa did weep, but only in solitude. She smiled when others came. "Thank you. He is at peace," she'd say. But each night she sat at her loom and stared at the empty spot where Silo once watched her weave. She stopped weaving, stopped singing, She ate only rice and salt, and only when her body refused to carry her further without it. After 40 days, her sister brought her to the nearby monastery. There, under the Bodhi tree, sat the aged bhikkhu Venerable Mahachita. He offered her no words of comfort at first. He simply sat beside her, watching the sun roll slowly across the sky. At last, she whispered, "Venerable, I know the Dhamma says all things pass, but I can't let go. My son was my heart." The old monk looked gently at her hands and said, "Then weave him into your grief." She furrowed her brow. "I don't understand." He replied softly, "You do not let go of your son. You let go of the idea that love ends with breath." Grief through right view. Dear friends, grief is not unwholesome. Grief is the heart waking up to impermanence. It is the mind realizing, "I am not in control." That too is the Dhamma. But if we cling to grief, wear it as identity, use it as punishment, feed it with blame, then grief becomes a prison. Right view doesn't say, "Don't grieve." It says, "Grieve with wisdom, grieve with clarity, grieve without clinging." Sorrow is not a mistake, it is the echo of love, but without right view we drown in that echo. How Anukampa wove again. Venerable Mahachita invited Anukampa to stay at the monastery, not as a nun, but as a helper. She swept the kuti. She cooked rice for visitors. She listened to Dhamma talk she had once walked past, but her loom remained untouched. Then one day the monk handed her a torn robe. "Can you mend this for me?" he asked. Her hands trembled, but she nodded. Thread by thread, she stitched it back together, and as she did, something inside her began to soften. She started weaving again, but not for money. She began weaving small pieces for children, orphans, novices, struggling families. One day, a mother whispered, "This is the warmest cloth my baby has ever known." Anukampa smiled. "My son would have liked it." In time, she wove dozens of robes for temple novices using only leftover threads. She named them slow threads, after the boy she had lost, but now gave to others. Forgiveness and right view. Dear ones, not all grief comes from death. Sometimes it comes from betrayal, from being wounded by the very hands we trusted. Let us speak of forgiveness, one of the most misunderstood practices of the heart. Let me begin with a riddle, one that life often whispers, especially in our quietest moments. What is lighter than a feather, yet can crush your chest? What is invisible, yet brings grown men to tears? What is closer than breath, but so hard to find? The answer, dear friends, is this: the burden of the heart. Today we explore right intention, Sammā Sankappa, the second factor on the Noble Eightfold Path. But this isn't just about thinking positively. Right intention is about realigning the compass of your heart so that every thought, word, and deed moves you not deeper into the cycles of suffering, but closer to true peace. To understand this more deeply, let us meet a man who could not forgive. The story of Thuma, the bamboo cutter, who carried a knife in his mind. In the misty highlands of ancient Magadha, there lived a bamboo cutter named Thuma. Every morning before sunrise, he'd enter the forest with a machete. By dusk, he'd return with bundles of long green stalks slung over his back. He sold these in the village, barely earning enough to feed his wife and son. Thuma was known for two things: the sharpness of his blade and the sharpness of his temper. 12 years earlier, a merchant had cheated him in a deal, claimed the bamboo was too thin, paid him half. Since that day, Thuma carried that memory like a hot coal in his chest. He repeated the story to anyone who'd listen. "That pig stole from my child's mouth. He cheated me. I'll never forget. One day he'll pay." His machete sliced bamboo cleanly, but his thoughts hacked at his own peace. He became irritable with his son, suspicious of his wife, and distrustful of other merchants. One evening, walking home through the woods, Thuma came across a monk meditating beneath a Bodhi tree. The monk opened his eyes and greeted him gently. "You carry something heavy, friend," the monk said, noting Thuma's hunched posture. "Only bamboo," Thuma snapped. "No," said the monk softly, "not on your back, on your heart." Thuma stiffened. "You know nothing of my life." The monk nodded. "True, but I know the nature of the mind. Hatred is like a knife. It may strike outward, but it always turns inward." Thuma scowled, but his steps slowed. The monk continued, "Right intention isn't just about not doing harm. It's choosing each day to abandon ill will, to foster goodwill, and to let go of craving." "Why should I forgive?" Thuma asked bitterly. "The one who wronged me walks free. I'm the one who still bleeds." The monk smiled. "Exactly, you are still bleeding. Forgiveness is not a gift to him, it is a freedom for you." That night, Thuma couldn't sleep. The monk's words rustled through his mind like dry bamboo in the wind. By dawn, something in him had shifted. He hadn't forgotten the betrayal. But for the first time in 12 years, he laid the knife down. Right intention is a choice. Let us reflect together. Right view helps us see clearly. Right intention guides us in what to do with that clarity. When we see suffering, do we contribute to it or help ease it? When past harm surfaces, do we sharpen our resentment or soften our heart? Right intention is not passive. It's not just avoiding harmful thoughts. It is an active, courageous commitment to these three intentions. 1. Nekkhamma, the intention of renunciation, letting go. 2. Avyapada, the intention of non-ill will, loving kindness. 3. Avihimsa, the intention of harmlessness, compassion. These are not abstract ideals. They are daily tools, antidotes for the poisons of the mind. Let me share another story. The story of Mani. The girl who gave away her lunch. Mani was just 10 years old, living in a dusty riverside village. She walked 3 miles to school every day, carrying a lunch of 1 rice ball and a bit of mango pickle, lovingly packed by her mother. One afternoon, she noticed a boy under a tree, silently watching her eat. His clothes were tattered, his eyes hollow. She turned her back, but something stirred in her. She remembered the Buddha's words she'd heard at the village temple. Giving is the joy of the wise. She turned again, broke her rice ball in half and offered him a piece. The boy stared at it, then wept. Mani didn't know he hadn't eaten in 2 days, didn't know he lived alone, didn't know that her kindness would be the first comfort he'd felt in weeks. All she knew was this: her stomach emptied sooner, but her heart felt full. Years later, that boy became a teacher. He started a free school, and on the sign at its entrance, he painted, "Inspired by the girl who shared her lunch, the sweetness of renunciation." Let's return to the first intention, nekkhamma, letting go. Many misunderstand this. They think renunciation means shaving your head or living in caves. But renunciation isn't about exile. It's about freedom. It's the layperson who says, "I no longer chase status." The parent who lets go of controlling their child's future. The worker who drops resentment and does their job with joy. That is renunciation. It's not what's in your hands that binds you. It's what you cling to in your heart. Ask yourself, can I enjoy without attachment? Can I serve without expectation? Can I let go without bitterness? If even once your answer is yes, you are already tasting freedom. Right intention in everyday life. Let's ground this further. 1. Morning choices. Before you rise, ask, will I choose to harm or to help today? This 2-second pause shapes the day. 2. In conversation, ask, am I speaking to connect or to control? Right intention speaks truth, not dominance. 3. In traffic or queues, when irritation bubbles, breathe. Whisper, not mine to control. That's renunciation in motion. 4. With children, ask, Am I reacting from fear or responding with care? Right intention educates more deeply than scolding. 5. With the past. When pain resurfaces, offer metta. May all beings, including those who hurt me, be free from suffering. Each time you do, a knot inside loosens. The enemy in disguise. Wrong intention often wears costumes. Greed dresses up as ambition. Ill will masks itself as honesty. Cruelty pretends to be justice, but right intention sees through the disguise. It gently asks, is this driven by fear or love? Am I feeding peace or fueling conflict? Does this choice build a bridge or a wall? One last story to close. The story of Sammā, the judge who closed his book. Sammā was a magistrate in the capital, brilliant, respected, fair, or so people thought. But each night, Sammā sat awake, questioning his rulings. Were they fair, or did my ego get in the way? Did I help change hearts, or just hand out punishment? One day an old monk came to court for a simple land case. After the hearing, Sammā invited him for lunch. Over the meal, Sammā admitted, "Venerable, I want to serve justice, but sometimes it feels like I'm just feeding more suffering." The monk smiled. "Then maybe it's time to change what you serve." "What do you mean?" Sammā asked. "Instead of serving law, serve wisdom. Instead of punishing, help people transform. The law may correct behavior, but only intention changes hearts." Sammā didn't cry from guilt. He wept from insight. Within a year, he retired, opened a center for restorative justice. He mediated, listened, and helped heal communities. In his will, he wrote, "I found more peace helping enemies forgive than deciding who was right." Practicing right intention, a daily guide. Here are 5 ways you can start cultivating right intention today. 1. Morning intention. Before stepping out of bed, say, "Today may I live with kindness, let go of craving, and cause no harm." 2. Mind checks. 3 times daily pause and ask, "What am I intending right now?" Gently redirect your heart if needed. 3. Evening forgiveness. Before sleeping, say, "I forgive those who hurt me. May I be forgiven. May we all be free." 4. Mirror practice. Look into your eyes and say, "Today I will live from a heart that wishes others well." 5. May you be free. When anger arises toward a stranger, boss, or memory, silently offer, "May you be free from suffering." Not easy, but healing. The knife and the lotus. Dear friends, the Buddha did not offer us a religion of empty rituals. He gave us tools. Among them, right intention is like the handle of a blade. It guides how we hold the mind. If you hold the knife carelessly, you bleed. If you hold it with wisdom, it becomes a tool of craft. If you plant a seed of anger, it becomes a thorn. If you plant goodwill, it blossoms into a lotus. Let me close with this verse. The mind intends, the world responds, like wind that bends the tree. If you would know the heart of peace, let your intentions be free. May your intentions be clear. May your compass point to truth. May your life become the Dhamma. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.